Retirement is a promise that won't be kept. Not for most people, not anymore, and the system knows this. The politicians know this. The financial advisors know this. They just don't say it out loud. Because the truth is uncomfortable, you're probably not going to retire. Not at 65, maybe not ever. Not because you made bad choices, but because the math doesn't work. Let me show you why. Retirement as we know it is a recent invention. Before 1935, most people worked until they couldn't, then they relied on family or they died. Social Security changed that. It created the idea that you could stop working and still survive. Then pensions made it better. Companies promised to pay you after you retired in exchange for loyalty during your working years. For about 50 years, this system worked. You worked for 30 years, you retired at 65. You lived another 10 or 15 years on Social Security and your pension. It was sustainable. Because people didn't live that long after retiring. Because pensions were designed when companies valued long-term stability. Because the economy was growing. But every one of those conditions has changed. Let's start with Social Security. Social Security was designed in 1935. The retirement age was set at 65. Do you know what the average life expectancy was in 1935? 61. Most people never collected Social Security. They died before they qualified. The system was designed to provide for a small number of people, for a short period of time. Today, the average life expectancy is 78, which means people collect Social Security for an average of 13 years. Not 2 years, 13, and the system wasn't built for that. In 1950, there were 16 workers paying into Social Security for every one retiree. Today, there are fewer than 3 workers per retiree. By 2035, that number will drop to 2 workers supporting 1 retiree. The math doesn't work. Social Security's trust fund is projected to be depleted by 2034. After that, benefits will be cut by about 23%. Automatically, not because of a policy decision, because there won't be enough money. So if you're planning to retire on Social Security, plan on getting 23% less than you expected, maybe more. Now let's talk about pensions. Private sector pensions are essentially dead. In 1980, 38% of private sector workers had a pension. Today, it's 12%, and most of those are in industries that are shrinking or unstable. Companies stopped offering pensions because they're expensive, and because they tie the company to long-term obligations. Instead, they shifted to 401(k)s, which sounds good. You control your own retirement, you invest, you build wealth. Except most people don't. The median 401(k) balance for Americans aged 55 to 64 is about $71,000. $71,000. Do you know how long that lasts in retirement? If you follow the 4% rule, you can withdraw about $2,800 per year. That's $235 per month. You can't live on that. Even with Social Security added in, you're looking at about $3,500 a month. Before taxes, before healthcare, before inflation. That's not retirement, that's poverty. And that's the median. Half of people have less than $71,000 saved. Many have nothing. So what happened? Why didn't people save more? Because they couldn't. Wages have been flat for decades. The cost of living has exploded. Student loans, medical bills, childcare, housing. By the time people pay for life, there's nothing left to save. And the system blames them for it. You should have saved more. You should have started earlier. You should have invested better. But you can't save what you don't have, and most people don't have it. Now let's talk about healthcare. Healthcare is the wild card that destroys most retirement plans. The average couple retiring today will spend about $315,000 on healthcare during retirement. $315,000. Medicare doesn't cover everything. It doesn't cover long-term care. It doesn't cover dental. It doesn't cover vision. And the out-of-pocket costs keep rising. If you retire before 65, before Medicare kicks in, you're on your own. Private health insurance for a couple in their early 60s can cost $2,000 a month or more. That's $24,000 a year just for insurance before you actually use it. And if you have a serious medical issue, forget it. One hospital stay can wipe out years of savings. So even if you saved diligently, healthcare can destroy your plan. Now let's talk about inflation. Inflation is the silent killer of retirement. Because retirement lasts decades, and over decades, inflation compounds. If inflation averages 3% per year, prices double every 24 years. Which means if you retire at 65 with a fixed income, by the time you're 89, everything costs twice as much. But your income doesn't double. Social Security has cost of living adjustments. But they don't keep pace with real expenses. Especially healthcare, especially housing, so your purchasing power erodes. Every year you can afford a little less. And there's nothing you can do about it. Now let's talk about the real problem. The retirement age. 65 made sense in 1935, it doesn't make sense now. People live longer, they're healthier longer, they work longer. And the economy needs them to work longer. Because if millions of people retire at 65, the system collapses. There aren't enough workers to support that many retirees, there isn't enough tax revenue, there isn't enough productivity. So the retirement age is going to rise. It's already happening quietly. Full retirement age for Social Security used to be 65, now it's 67 for anyone born after 1960. And it will keep rising, not officially announced, just slowly adjusted. Benefits tied to later ages, penalties for early retirement increased, incentives to work longer. In 20 years, the de facto retirement age will be 70, maybe 75. Not because of policy, because people won't be able to afford to stop working. And here's the darker part. Many people won't be able to work that long. Physical jobs break down your body. Construction workers, nurses, manufacturing workers, delivery drivers. These people can't work until 70. Their knees give out, their backs give out, their bodies break down. But they won't have enough saved to retire. So they'll be forced to stop working without the means to survive. That's not retirement, that's destitution. And millions of people are heading toward it. Now let's talk about what the system expects you to do. The standard advice is simple: save more, work longer, invest wisely, delay Social Security. And for some people, that works. If you're a high earner. If you started saving early, if you avoided major financial disasters, if you stayed healthy. But most people aren't in that position. Most people are living paycheck to paycheck, even in their 50s, even in their 60s. They can't save more because there's nothing left. They can't work longer because their bodies are failing. They can't invest wisely because they have nothing to invest. And the system offers no solution. It just keeps telling them to do things they can't do. So what actually happens? Most people will work longer than they planned. Not because they want to, because they have to. They'll cut back hours if they can. They'll take lower-paying jobs, they'll work part-time. They'll call it semi-retirement. But it's not retirement, it's survival. Some people will rely on family. They'll move in with their kids, they'll depend on their children's income. They'll become a financial burden they never wanted to be. Some people will rely on government assistance. Medicaid, food stamps, housing assistance. They'll spend down their assets to qualify, they'll live in subsidized housing, they'll survive. But barely, and some people won't make it. They'll die before they retire or shortly after, because stress kills, because poverty kills, because lack of health care kills. This is the reality most people aren't talking about. Retirement, as a phase of life where you stop working and live comfortably, is disappearing. For most people, it's already gone. So what do you do? First, stop believing the lie. You're not going to retire at 65 and travel the world. That was your parents' generation, and even then, it only worked for some. Except that you'll probably work longer than you planned and plan accordingly. Second, reduce your cost of living now. The less you need to live, the less you need to save. Downsize your home before you're forced to, eliminate debt, cut expenses you don't need. Because every dollar you don't spend now is a dollar you don't need later. Third, focus on health. Your body is your retirement plan. If you can work at 70, you'll be okay. If you can't, you won't. Exercise, eat well, avoid injury. This isn't optional anymore. Fourth, build multiple income streams. Don't rely on one job, don't rely on one source of income. Freelancing, consulting, small business, rental income. Anything that generates money without requiring full-time work. Because you need options. Fifth, adjust your expectations. Retirement won't look like the commercials. It won't be golf and beaches and leisure. It will be modest. It will be careful. It will require continued work in some form. And that's okay. As long as you know it's coming, the people who suffer are the ones who plan for a retirement that doesn't exist. They spend money they don't have. They retire when they can't afford to, they run out of money and have no backup plan. Don't be that person. Sixth, advocate for change. This isn't just a personal problem, it's a systemic problem. Social security needs reform, healthcare costs need to be addressed, wage stagnation needs to be fixed. These are political issues and they require political solutions. But those solutions won't come unless people demand them. So vote, organize, make noise, because the system won't fix itself. Now let's talk about the broader implications. When an entire generation can't retire, society changes. Older workers stay in jobs longer, which means younger workers can't advance. Economic mobility slows, resentment builds. Families become financially strained, adult children supporting aging parents who can't retire. Parents unable to help their children because they're still struggling themselves. Healthcare systems become overwhelmed, more elderly people with chronic conditions, fewer resources to care for them. Political instability increases. Desperate people vote for extreme solutions. This is what a retirement crisis looks like, not dramatic, just grinding, slow financial deterioration, eroding quality of life, increasing dependence, and no clear way out. The retirement promise is broken, it's not coming back, and the sooner you accept that, the better prepared you'll be. You will probably work longer than you planned, you will probably save less than you need. You will probably retire later than you hoped. And you will probably never fully retire in the way previous generations did. This isn't pessimism, it's realism. The numbers don't lie. Social security is underfunded. Pensions are gone, savings are inadequate, healthcare is unaffordable, lifespans are longer. The math doesn't work, so the promise can't be kept. Not for everyone, not even for most people. What you do with that information is up to you. You can ignore it and hope it works out, or you can face it and adapt. But hoping won't change the math. The retirement crisis is here, and it's not going away.